What's up, Cellar Dwellers? I just got done doing my second movie. In case George doesn't do his part, I watched the 1958 Blob. Not necessarily a horror film. I guess it would be more of a thriller. Before I get too far down the rabbit hole, I still have The Exorcist to watch, so I will have done. This is my 11th movie. The Exorcist was chosen as my 10, but I want to watch that with Pam before I do it. So again, George, I hope you do your job, and if you didn't, don't worry, Dan and I did. This movie starts out with, I actually wrote down their names this time. The two main characters are Steve and Jane. They're up on we'll call it a kissing point hill, probably a lot of date rape happens there. And they see a shooting star. And Steve wants to go find that shooting star, but before he can, the neighbor that lives nearby found the shooting star, pokes it with a stick, and this gooey shit takes over his hand. Well, as Jane and Steve are looking for the star, the old man runs out in front of them, and they take him to the doctor. And the doctor notices that this blob on his hand is quickly taking over his body and wants to amputate. Well, doctor can't do it quick enough. Nurse gets there, and the fucking blob takes both of them on and eats them up too. Well, imagine that. Cops think the kids are crazy. Sergeant just thinks they're playing pranks because it's the 50s. And, the movie goes on and on. Pretty uneventful for the most part. You see the blob squeeze through some stuff. It tries to kill the kids. Jane and Steve take on some of their friends that race them in the beginning of the movie, and they try to find the blob. Continues. Blob kills the guy at the movie theater. Not that it matters. These are just things that happened. Oh, you're falling on me. And after the movie theater, they think they find it in a grocery store. Cops. Oh. So, going back to the theater, it kills the dude doing the reel-to-reel up in the top, and then it eventually makes everybody run. So while the cops and Steve and Jane are over at the grocery store trying to find it where it attacked Steve and Jane, everyone's leaving the theater, and the cops go to the theater because they're just over across the street, and they see this big ass blob come out. And for some reason, Steve and Jane run into a diner that's right across from the theater, and the blob ends up taking over the diner and encompasses it, and it's starting to creep down the staircase. So the cops are like, oh, we're gonna shoot down a telephone wire and burn that motherfucker. Well, burning that motherfucker just pissed it off, and it engulfed even more of this place. And then it creeps down the stairs because the cop told them to go to the basement before they lit it. They try to light that thing like a fucking electric rod. I don't even know. And then the blob is creeping down the stairs, and Steve gets the magical idea to spray it with a fucking CO2 fire extinguisher. He does so, and it starts to back off. So they know that the cops are still ringing in on the phone because he left it dangling. He starts screaming, CO2, CO2. Cops, kids, fire department all go and gather a bunch of CO2 fire extinguishers. They spray the blob with it till it shrinks into this ball. And then they're like, we're gonna drop this motherfucker off in Antarctica where it's never gonna fucking unfreeze because it doesn't like the cold. So, last scene is the blob being toted along underneath her plane. Boo! Bye, blob. Like I said, this movie wasn't a horror film. Definitely more of a thriller, I would think. But in the spirit of Halloween, I thought it fit pretty well. It was also only 85 minutes, which is a huge part in me picking this movie. This one was hard. It didn't really suck me in. I've been trying to put myself into these movies, and this one made it difficult. Steve McQueen, who played Steve, his acting was a little bit hit or miss. Really good, really bad, out of character, in character. I think it missed some moments. Like, you see too much of the Blob. If you could see less of it, less is more in this situation. To make it a little more suspenseful and thriller, you don't want to see the whatever, the villain, and you saw too much of it, like squeezing through vents and stuff, and small snippets of it moving. And the Blob itself was very weird, kind of like a gusher with some life to it. So I'm not gonna get too much more into it. It missed its mark, I think, for what it was trying to do. Watchability was a little bit tough, but I think the portrayal of the actors and the gender roles at the time were very accurate. Not accurate, but of course they're accurate because of the time that it was recorded. But what am I trying to say? Like, I don't even know. It just seemed like an accurate portrayal of how people would act in such a situation. It has nothing to do with gender roles. Like, it was very... when people are in, like, a frantic moment, how they would react and, go about things, it did that very well. So, creativity, pretty cool idea. Big old blob that comes out of space, from outer space, and a fucking star, shooting star, little asteroid. Pretty good. I'd definitely give it that. Was I sucked in? Hell no. The music was... It worked pretty well. It really set the mood in certain scenes. Lasting impact. No, this is as forgettable as anything. And did VHS matter? I do think VHS helped the shoddy graphics. It helped the 1958 live gusher look a little more real. A lot of very good looking girls in their 1950s ways. Yeah. Anita Corso played Jane. Alright, star rating. I think they achieved what they were going for. They missed the mark in certain areas, and it wasn't very watchable. So we're gonna go with a 5.5, 6. Let's do a 6. Just because I feel bad giving it 5.5. 1958 Blob. 6, because I feel bad.